Based on our current numbers, we're required to provide services for an ELL or ELL and Polish speaking. And so we're going to have to actually post for a Polish speaker in ELL because of the requirements, because of the numbers we have. Not too far behind are their Ukrainian population. We're going to have to look at that either this year or the following 2 years. Consolidation of services, and this is something that we've put in place. There's a director position that the RHS has approved to assist us in aligning our curriculum, more specifically in math and STEM, which is exciting because it's no cost for us. It's a cost incurred by the high school. They're just sharing the one position to help us to make sure that kids are prepared for math and for science. The World Language Program itself, I know that in this past year we had about 20 kids, or 16 kids who tested out of Spanish 1 and were in Spanish 2 in the high school. Based on the preliminary numbers from Giles, we had over 40 kids that tested in Spanish 2 for this upcoming year, which puts them on a trajectory for honors or AP, which is a big deal, because I always tell parents, the quicker you get them into AP, the quicker you decrease the number of courses at the college, the more savings you're incurring. So, because instead of your student graduating in 4 years or 5 years, they can graduate in 4 based on what they were doing in high school. Author adoption program, we can work with the Eisenhower Library. This is no different from the program that is currently embedded at the high school. But basically, we'd have an author who would we'd adopt on a monthly basis. It could be for a number of books at each grade level. It could be a building-based, whatever we so choose. Our special education program, and this is just for scenario 5. If you were to go to grade centers, you have a special ed teacher at every grade level. Special ed teacher at every grade level. So they have one special ed teacher dedicated to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all the way up to 8th grade, as well as additional services in our Pride room. And then the second to last slide, our continuity of instruction will improve greatly because not only will we have the time dedicated at the end of the day where there's consistency, but we'll also be able to work, again, aligning with where our kids are going to be, which is the high school, because that's our ultimate goal. Curriculum standards, grade organization will provide a greater opportunity to align curriculum. Our curriculum review cycle, in my opinion, will be accelerated because at the end of the day, every day, we can have planning or we can dedicate it to PLC to assure that that's taking place. Competency-based learning program, we're working with the high school on this. This is one of the things we've been meeting monthly on. But investigate research and implementation of uniform standards for our grading as well as our homework. And this is something that we're hoping over the next 2 years we could shift toward. And the reason I say that is, depending on the teacher that you take, you may have different grades. And we may be having kids that go to the high school as honor students. And in their first year, they don't perform as honor students. And there's a reason. We need to be more consistent in our grading practices across the grade level. And then lastly, the continuous improvement practices, focusing on math and science. And as I've said, there's no math problem left behind. I don't think any student would go home with any math homework. That's my personal opinion. As a parent, I can tell you that math has become very complicated. It's very complicated. And I can share with you, this is a person who's taken calculus, quantum mechanics, I can go on and on. I have trouble solving 5th grade math problems. And so I think it's best that the student is in the building with the teachers, finishing the math so that mom and dad can work on reading stories, can work on writing, and work on research. I think that'd be far more valuable than dealing with a frustrated child who's having trouble with math, or science for that matter. But that's my opinion, that's my vision. And then lastly, here is what the building would look like. This is a feasibility study. So there's a test fit for both Lee as well as for Giles. So a K through 4 would fit in Lee School, and a 5 through 8 would fit into Giles School. So basically, based on the preliminary investigation, there is space for either of these to take place. And then lastly, I'll leave it at questions. If you don't mind, I'm going to sit down. Is that okay?
Actually, I got one quick question
Okay.
for you.
Can I sit down?
Oh, you can.
Okay.
No, more than welcome. On slide number 6, talks about adopt an author. So my question is, have there been any partnership already been solidified in order to reduce the cost, at no cost for us, since we are in this situation?
No, basically this is a program that's already existed, and I'm sure as I'm sitting here, if we had discussions with staff, or with our PTA, that they'd be more than willing to assist us on this program. It's no different from what they're providing at the high school that is at minimal or no cost. So we would partner with the high school, and I think we dedicate it to exactly what we want kids to do. We want them to read. And so the more opportunities, the more likely are the meeting authors. It's just going to be more beneficial at the end of the day.
I understand. Well, my angle on that question was to see if will happen no cost to us. But it sounds like it will be a no cost to us, right? So
Absolutely. That's well, basically everything that's listed here is.
No, I can't imagine it being no. I mean, I know like for the high school, like Parents Club donates $1,000. I know they get donations from a lot of different areas, but. I know it's a costly program to do.
Not free.
It's not a free thing
not a
to
free
do.
thing,
So,
Okay.
I mean, that's what I mean. All these things sound wonderful, but I think like how far along are they in the like when we talked about a feasibility study? I guess in my head I was thinking like traffic patterns, like STEP and PTA. Do we have that? Like how is that going to work at the two schools now that we have two separate things? Are they going to be able to work together? Are the names of the schools staying together? The curriculum for the grades? How are we preparing the 7th graders for graduating at a different school? Are 5th graders going to be transferring classes like the junior high kids do? Are they going to be considered like junior high kids now?
Absolutely.
I mean, so the 5th grades are
That's
going to be
exactly
moving
what
them
we created
ahead.
with the teachers.
With the dean, if there's going to be behavioral issues, what are we doing about like extracurriculars for students if they don't make the teams? Since if it would be one school, how are we going to do that? Or are we going to offer different things for them? Like that's what I'm thinking. Like with feasibility, I want to see like
Cost as
all
well too.
well, it costs for it all, but also like true things that are going to really make a difference in these kids' lives. And I mean, just like the traffic, I mean, we have no idea if we can even make it from one school to another, and that I think would be something that we need to know. Like if we physically cannot get from one school to another, I mean, doing the grade centers is going to be a very difficult thing to do, or we're going to have to change the times, or we're going to have to think something completely different. But that's why I have a problem with voting for something when there's so many unanswered questions that there's just a lot of unknowns. I mean, these things sound wonderful, but I'm sure that
It's reality.
next year these aren't going to be in place. I know you even said that with the curriculum review cycle, we have to stop it for this year if we're going to grade centers because all your time has to be devoted on grade centers.
Cindy, the board can choose. You have two scenarios on the table. If you feel more comfortable cutting art, music, and sports, then you believe in scenario 4. That's what I'm hearing. Versus scenario 5. I wouldn't disagree with anything you said.
I don't feel more comfortable cutting anything, and I don't think it's fair to say it that way. I think I'm more comfortable with having a comprehensive plan than throwing our kids into a no plan and let's see where things fall. I mean, I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's the right thing to do.
There's a lot of research out there that talks about middle schools and then how the transition is so hard on them, and what that in turn means for test scores. The math achievement, one report, the middle school plunge said math achievement falls by 0.12 and reading by 0.09 when transitions are made at grade 6. At grade 7, it's 0.22 for math and 0.15. And we've just finished, I mean, every chance we get, we talk about how great our MAP scores are and how great they are. But the scientific data says that if we go to this without it being a comprehensive plan, those numbers are going to tank. I mean, it's just, that's what's going to happen. Not that there aren't a lot of good options with going to grade centers, but that it needs to be a comprehensive plan. I mean, I've read more studies in the last week than I've ever wanted to read on grade centers. And I mean, most districts, the last 2 districts that I have found in this neighborhood around us that have gone to grade centers, Prospect Heights did this in 3 years, and Berwyn did it in 1.5 years, and we're trying to do it in less than 4 months.
Yeah, we got to put it in context. I mean, we have 2 schools. Prospect Heights, I believe, has many more schools.
But
than
not
two
all of them
schools.
went to grade centers.
I
Now,
understand.
it was a
Not all of them
transition.
did,
It
yeah.
was a slow progression of involving parents. And
Yeah.
that's another one of the stories,
Right.
articles that I read, Mayhem in the Middle, by the Educational Leadership
Right.
published, that one of the biggest things is to include parents in the process.
Okay.
And that hasn't happened. We haven't included them other than having the opportunity to speak up
Right.
at these meetings. There hasn't been anything to get.
Well, this is a fiscal decision. I'm going to remind the board.
But it's not just a fiscal decision.
It is a
It's a
fiscal
fiscal
decision.
decision based on what's in the best interest of these kids. Because we are here for the kids.
If it's
I
a
mean,
fiscal
we're-
decision,
So do you-
though,
so do
option
you
four,
believe-
if
do you
it's a
believe
fiscal
art and music-
decision,
do you think
then
art and
option
music
four
is
is
not good
saving
for
us more
kids?
money.
Do you think art and music are not good for kids? Or
I would never say that.
So again.
But I
I'm
also
gonna repeat
wouldn't
this.
say that throwing kids into a grade centers when it hasn't been a thorough, thought out plan,
Right.
starting from getting them to the buildings on time and picking them up on time. You know what I mean? You have to balance that.
Okay, so you have a difficult choice. Your options are on the packet. You guys can decide to go in whichever direction you so choose. I work at the leisure of the board. Either of those scenarios I will dutifully put in place, and I will live it with passion. What I've put on here are reminders of what will take place if you choose 4 and if you choose 5. You can choose whichever one you decide is most important to you, and whichever one you weigh against what you believe is important to kids. As a superintendent, I'm sharing with you. I came to school for art, music, athletics, industrial arts, Spanish. That is why I came to school. That is where I'm passionate. If you believe in scenario 4, we will move forward with scenario 4. There are ramifications to both these decisions. At the end of the day, it's a fiscal decision. It's nobody here at this table believes in grade centers. No one. No one in the community here believes in grade centers. No one. However, our finances do not provide us with the luxuries that we had in the past. Our finances do not provide us with the luxuries that we had in the past. I live in a district where I have a grade center. It's K through 8. I believe in it. This reflects my vision, what I believe in. We have art. We have music. We have sports. I'm just sharing that's my position. I'm not arguing. I'm not disagreeing. You have option 4. You have option 5. They are choices. And I'll remind you, you're going to be known for one of 3 decisions. Cutting our signature program, increasing our taxes, or going to grade centers. That is what you are going to be known for. I did not say this was easy. You have come forward, unlike many other people that have kicked the can down the road, and you have been very transparent, regardless of what people have said or are saying. You have been transparent. You've had meeting upon meeting upon meeting upon meeting. At the end of the day, seniors are the majority of your vote, whether you like it or not. They come out, and they come out in big numbers. They come out, and they come out in big numbers. So it's up to you. You guys have to decide. Your question is on the table. I will live it out dutifully, and I will assure you we're going to do the best with the programs that we have. We're going to live it with pride, because that's what we do. That's what I do.
If this was based just strictly on a fiscal decision, then option 4 would be the one to do, because we're going to be at 773,000 versus 753 for grade centers. So, I mean, if that's the mentality we're supposed to be going at, then option 4 would be the thing to do. I'm looking at it in a much broader way than just saying one area versus the other. I mean, money has something to do with it, but it's also about having a plan. It's also about making sure that these kids are emotionally, socially ready for this, and to make sure that it is good to go and not going to be something that we are all going to regret. And right now, there is no clear-cut plan. So,
I mean, planning and preparing are key ingredients to success, right? And if we're not planning this correctly, we're not discussing among each other, among the community, and make a solid base decision that that's the route we want to go, and time. I think time is very important to execute the perfect plan. There's many plans, but we need to execute the right one because we already have done the best. We've made not so good decisions in the past, to put it lightly.